Once again, Cameron Monaghan is fueling speculation that Cal Kestis is coming into live action. Meanwhile, Katee Sackhoff has addressed the possibility of Bo-Katan reuniting with Ahsoka very soon, and we have some juicy leaks for the Acolyte. All this and more in today's Star Wars news update. So let's begin with a news statement from Katee Sackhoff. Last week, she made an appearance at GalaxyCon in Raleigh, and one very curious Star Wars fan asked her a very pressing question, one that many of us have. Are we going to see a Bo-Katan Ahsoka reunion at some point in the future? Could it be in the Mandalorian Season 3, or maybe even the Ahsoka show? Well, as is often the case with actors, less is more, and interestingly enough, Katee refused to answer the question directly, but the response she did give was very telling indeed. All she repeated over and over again is that she really likes Rosario Dawson. The smirk on her face, the way she nodded, and clearly the fact that she was hiding something all suggests she is going to be in the Ahsoka series. Or of course a reunion could happen in Mando Season 3. Rosario Dawson is rumoured to be in both, and Katee is going to be a staple once again in the upcoming seasons of The Mandalorian. Her answer was so telling, so do expect to see her with Ahsoka very soon. Given that Ahsoka is a Mandalorian spin-off, and that the same crew is working more or less on both, the same is probably true of some of the actors, not to mention that Bo-Katan knew Ahsoka's location on Corvus in The Mandalorian Season 2, and the two characters have a friendship that goes all the way back to the Clone Wars. And if, as the teaser trailer suggests, we are heading to Mandalore, it just would not be the same without everyone's favourite Togruta. I know Ahsoka's got her own thing going on, but she is such a valuable ally. Before we move on though, do you guys want to see Bo in the Ahsoka show? And to see these two characters interacting again? Share your thoughts down below. So now, my dear friends, it's time to talk about Cameron Monaghan. We've had quite a few tidbits over the last few weeks about Jedi Survivor, but now we have an actual response from the actor as to whether we're going to see Cal Kestis in a Disney Plus show. In a new interview with Screen Rant, Cameron fired up the rumours about a possible jump to live action for his character. While promoting his new project Paradise Highway, the actor was asked about a possible Cal Kestis appearance in an upcoming Disney Plus show. And just like with Katee Sackhoff, the way he answered the question just added to the speculation. He said, well, of course there's interest, that's about all I can say, and the way that's worded kind of sounds like he's got a non-disclosure agreement. But it is a bit unclear if he means he's interested in it, or if Lucasfilm have already approached him. I think the latter, but to be honest, I think they're going to use him in the games first, before he appears in a show or in a movie. Regardless of if Lucasfilm even have a plan for Cal Kestis in the future, we've got to bear in mind a lot of the NDAs that he would have had to sign prevent him from even addressing this kind of question, so the way he answered was diplomatic and leaves it open-ended. That way Cameron doesn't get in trouble. Now, with a lot of that being said, this is great news for fans of the character and obviously of the games. Rumours about this possible jump to live action started circulating last month, when Christian Harloff revealed that according to a trusted source, the actor had signed on to star in his own series for Disney Plus, a much later continuation of the Jedi games when Kestis is older, more mature, and one that many fans think could tie into The Mandalorian. But Lucasfilm has not commented on the issue, and Cameron himself has barely even addressed it, which based on past records could be a good thing. With D23 almost upon us, and with so much unknown about the Star Wars franchise beyond 2023, it is possible we do get an announcement, similar to when Kathleen Kennedy announced Ewan McGregor's return all the way back in 2019. But before we jump the gun, we can look forward to the actor reprising his role in Jedi Survivor, the much anticipated Fallen Order sequel, which is reportedly scheduled to come out in March of next year. Now, the sequel is probably going to have connections to other projects too. It's set exactly around the time of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and with the Andor series coming out taking place only a few years in the future, there could be connections with characters there. And who knows, but the big question everyone has is who is in that tank. Is it a new canon version of Sabayoth? Could it be a Cal Kestis clone, a Palpatine clone, or maybe something on Mount Tantis? Let's wait and see. So now guys, it's time to talk about Andor once again. We have a new still from Season 1 courtesy of Empire magazine, and also some new insights from the actors. Let's start with the image. On the right hand side we have the Star Wars equivalent of a recliner, and in it we have Fiona Shaw's character Marva. On the left we have Cassian Andor, who looks like he's fixing her TV. Obviously he's not, but at first glance that's what came to mind. So now onto the article, which from what I've seen has caused quite a stir, but honestly I'm surprised that other people are surprised by this. While Star Wars is a space opera franchise packed with action and humour, those are only the trimmings. At its core, Star Wars is a narrative based on family that also critiques real-world politics. As we know, George Lucas based the original trilogy on events from both world wars, as well as major analogies to the Vietnam War, a criticism of Nixon, and in his own words, quote, how democracies get turned into dictatorships. The prequels were no different, so going into the Andor series that was always described as a political show, it's no surprise there's going to be some real-world subtext, as well as themes that are based on the current day, or should I say the current day back in 2018 and 19 when production started. So let's dive into the article. Andor is Star Wars' scurrilous take on the Trumpian world, says Fiona Shaw. In many ways, it's not surprising that Tony Gilroy has taken on a Star Wars project of his own with the upcoming series Andor. After all, he was majorly involved in Rogue One, the film from which this new adventure originates. But elsewhere, he's been less known for sci-fi adventures than scripting gritty political and legal thrillers like the original Bourne trilogy and Michael Clayton. Admitting he has, quote, no interest in Star Wars generally, he's taking the origin story of Diego Luna's Cassian Andor and using it as a means to tell a Tony Gilroy story in the galaxy far, far away. One delving into the political machinations of the Empire in full swing and the desperate fight to bring it down. The result is something with considerable contemporary resonance. Tony Gilroy has written a great scurrilous take on the Trumpian world, and that's according to Fiona Shaw, who plays Marva in the series. She says, our world is exploding in different places right now, people's rights are disappearing, and Andor reflects that. In the show, the Empire is taking over, and it feels like the same thing is happening in reality too. Fiona Shaw then says, I was impressed by Tony's social realist intentions. He's created a whole new morality. It's very deep and humane. There is grief, mourning, hope, fear. It's not just primary colours here. And a final quote from Diego Luna on the series. Even as Tony was pitching me, I was like, this is amazing, you are sick. The battle for freedom begins here. So by the sounds of it, there are going to be a lot of relevant parallels, politically, socially, and so on. Now, while that might be divisive amongst folks, the big question is, how obvious is that going to be? Is the subtext going to be too obvious, or will they take the George Lucas approach and mask it well beneath a unique Star Wars story? One way you can tell what the subtext is, but is still in the context of the galaxy far, far away, and not too Earth-like, where it takes you out of the story. George was able to find that balance perfectly, and I hope they do the same thing with the Andor series, because regardless of politics, I don't think anyone wants it to be too blatant, too human-like. We want it to still be a Star Wars story, so hopefully they've done it in a way that finds balance. As I said yesterday, I don't like to prejudge series before they come out, so I'm not going to make a definitive judgment one way or the other, but this should not come as a surprise to anyone. Star Wars has always had a political subtext, and this was kind of expected. So to end things on something way more positive and lighthearted, let's talk about the Acolyte. The leaker Ahsoka, who's been posting tales of the Jedi leaks, has some more information for the Acolyte, this time about the Sith Lord, whose codename is Paul. I've always found it hilarious that's the codename they went for. So they say, Paul is a Sith Lord, though he doesn't seem like one. He's a super rich arms dealer, sort of effortlessly fancy. He deals weapons to Aura's village so they can fight off the aliens, and Paul has been described as human, and Ahsoka says there is no indication of making him Darth Plagueis, so Plagueis could still be in the series, but Paul is not his codename. Really interesting stuff. There is more to this that I'm going to break down in a separate video. I think it deserves its own one. And so with that said, my dear friends, that brings us to the end of today's Star Wars news update. If you enjoyed this one, guys, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, share your thoughts down below, be sure to hit that big red subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.